Jerry Lane Enterprises and Courtesy Motors present Paradise, Louisiana. Also brought to you by
Baton Rouge Coca-Cola Bottling Company, Denny's Car Wash and Oil Change, Cracker Barrel Convenience Stores. We have more than you expect. Always fresh, never frozen, Raising Cane's. Blue Cross Blue Shield of Louisiana, Farm Bureau Insurance, Louisiana Fish Fry Products, Demco, First South Farm Credit, Area Wholesale Tire Company, with tire programs for tire dealers. Hi, and welcome to this week's edition of Paradise, Louisiana. I'm Don Dubuc without Gary Risponi. Gary's on assignment up in Canada doing a little bit of goose hunting. He'll be back with us next week. This week we have a special guest host, not unfamiliar to the viewers of this program, Captain Mike Gallo of Angling Adventures of Louisiana. Mike, glad to have you here.
Glad to be here, Don.
All right, we're going to talk to Captain Mike about some of his fishing adventures and learn some of the little intricacies of the spots that he fishes and what's coming up ahead on this first edition of Fall Paradise, Louisiana, by the way. Also, we'll have a news segment for you, update us on the latest activities in and around the area. Also got to make a trip with Glenn and Jonathan Sanchez. Also came with us was Mike Hoss of WWL News Anchor. Went out to Breton Sound, and boy, came back with some of the most beautiful trout I have actually got the privilege of catching all year. And we'll talk about that in the fishing report a little bit more. Some areas really starting to show some signs of speckled trout activity and saltwater fishing picking up, while others, like Lake Pontchartrain, Mike, as you well know, has been kind of on the downside and will try to perk people up in what has been a pretty dismal situation. I know you and Captain Deadly Dudley made a speaking engagement to some of the local people that fish on the north shore of Lake Pontchartrain, and the news really hasn't been good.
It's turning. It's not going to be long. 2-3 weeks. We'll start catching some speckled trout on a consistent basis. Right now they're spotty and in different areas, but we'll catch them pretty consistently very soon.
All right, we'll talk more about that coming up. Plus, we'll also talk about the duck season. Teal season getting ready to wrap up. We'll kind of give you the overview of how this year's teal season has gone. We'll look ahead to the archery season's coming up, small game, and before you know it, the big duck season will be here. That, plus our Berkeley Abu Garcia fishing report, all coming up right here on Paradise, Louisiana.
You can count on Jerry Lane.
At Jerry Lane, they rolled the red carpet out for me.
It's always been Jerry.
You know what? It's tradition, it's family, and that's what keeps us coming back to Jerry Lane.
Get the lane, get the lane. Get the lane, get the lane. Get the lane, get the lane.
We're a Jerry Lane family.
All lanes lead to. You can count on Jerry Lane.
One day I was riding my bike and I noticed a little pain. Had never been there before. Went straight to the doctor's office and he confirmed it was testicular cancer. Before you get sick, you just have insurance and you don't think about it much. The experience we had with Blue Cross was fantastic. Finances are the last thing you want to be thinking about when you're sick. This whole thing's been going on for about 2 months, but I'm going to be dealing with it for a few years now until I get the all clear. Having the Blue Cross ID card in my wallet makes me feel secure, safe, and covered.
Who doesn't want to save money on fuel? Now, Shell and the Fuel Rewards Network are putting you in control of how much you pay for fuel. Simply buy whatever's on your shopping list. Clothes, groceries, even dinner out. And earn cents per gallon savings at participating retailers nationwide. Now, fuel prices are in your hands. So why wait? Sign up at fuelrewards.com today and turn shopping power into saving power.
I can't believe y'all brought me out to the blind and we ain't got no food. Man, I'm hungry.
Don't worry, Gary. This will be over quick.
Thanks to our sponsor, Raising Cane's and Todd Grays, a real Louisiana sportsman and conservationist, with true aim and sure shot, giving back to Louisiana.
Good job, girl. That's a better retrieve than any duck. Cane's, the official chicken of Louisiana outdoors.
Welcome back to Paradise, Louisiana. Our guest co-host this week is Captain Mike Gallo of Angling Adventures of Louisiana. And Mike, people get to see your feature every so often. You're one of our regular contributors as a field reporter. But really, to give people who are not familiar with you or people who want to find out more, give us a little bit of background on how you got started in the guide business, where you operate from, and where it is today.
Well, I got started in the guide business in 1999 after burnout from the electronics industry. Started my business, moved to Slidell, Louisiana, bought a home right there on the water, incorporated, did all of that stuff, and started fishing. Built a website, aaofla.com, so you can go there and find out maybe more information than I give you here. Started from scratch, you know, stay in early, go early and stay late. Fish as long as you can, make your customers happy. Fish a variety of areas, Lake Pontchartrain, the Biloxi Marsh, the Bayou B Avenue area. Kind of like you say, half boat will travel. And we just go where the fish are biting and catch them as many as we can.
Tell me about your Spots and Dots Lodge. Great little spot nestled there on the banks of Salt Bayou for your customers.
Well, after Katrina, our home was destroyed. My wife said we need to live on high ground. So we moved and relocated upland and high ground, and I rebuilt the old home and formulated it into a lodge, put a lot of beds in there, and now we run a lot of corporate trips from that location.
You cover a wide variety of water types. You fish everything from up in the narrow Pearl in the wintertime to find speckled trout, to the Wrigley's fishing under the bridge. You fish the big open waters of Lake Bourne. You cross open waters of Lake Bourne to get to that northern stretch of the Biloxi Marsh. You fish the Mr. Go, the Intercoastal Waterway, Lake Catherine. What have you found is the best watercraft for fishing such a wide variety of waters?
Well, I really love my Blue Wave. My Blue Wave really does a fine job on crossing that open water, gets into very skin of water. It's efficient, works great for my application. My customers seem to like it. Spacious, and a great fishing platform.
How many customers can you handle? I know you've got basically, you developed over the years a team of captains to work with you.
Yeah, we've got several captains that work with us whenever we have large corporate groups, anywhere from 8 to 28 or even bigger. Generally 3 to 4 per boat. And the traveling, we'll travel where the fish are.
Well, let's kind of break down your fishing areas into 3 areas. Of course, the big Lake Pontchartrain. Everybody's come to know and love those big trout, although we're kind of wondering what happened to them, and we'll talk more about that. Also, you fish the Biloxi Marsh, one of your favorite spots. It's a very remote, very scenic location where you primarily concentrate on your redfish, but you also do a lot of freelance fishing in the deeper areas, the big cuts like the Wrigley's, the Mr. Go, Intercoastal Waterway. So if you would, kind of take those 3 areas, and let's talk about what people can expect to find there in the fall.
Well, let's start with the Biloxi Marsh. We'll see some speckled trout in the Biloxi Marsh right now. They're more on the eastern edge of the marsh, popping cork with plastic or popping cork with a live shrimp. You'll catch some speckled trout. They'll be mixed anywhere from 11-inch trout to 15-inch trout, and you just have to weed through them. That's going to be the pattern pretty much anywhere you go. As we get deeper into fall, you won't see near as many of those smaller size fish. The Biloxi Marsh is great because you also have a plethora of redfish right there, and a variety of areas that you can fish. Interior lakes and bays, bayous, little cuts, duck ponds. We do try to stay away from the duck ponds during duck season. But vast area, a very vast area that you can fish in.
All right, now let's talk about fishing those connecting waterways that connect the Biloxi Marsh to back to your home side over there near the Wrigley's and Slidell. You got 2 big waterways, the Intercoastal, the Mr. Go, great wintertime fishing spots, but you've also got some rigs out there in Lake Bourne that you can pick up some good fishing too.
That's right. The rigs in Lake Bourne are going to be hot for the next month. You'll see a variety of fish on those rigs. There's going to be a lot of white trout, and there'll be more and more speckled trout as we get deeper into the month of September and then also into October. The shorelines, if you got western wind, then obviously the western shoreline of Lake Bourne can have redfish on it and trout. It's a transitional time of year, so you fish are kind of everywhere. They're not really concentrated in any one area. So they can be shorelines, bayous, lakes, ponds, even in some of the larger lakes. So it's stick and move, clean water with lots of bait fish in the activity.
All right, also, when you're crossing Lake Bourne, a fish you've come to love, and me too, and we've caught him, the triple tail. You've always got your eye out for that kind of a rare fish.
Yeah, we constantly look for triple tail. Didn't find that many this year. I think I saw 4, and we ended up catching 2. Anything floating in the water. Could be lily pads, Coke can, crab traps, anything floating, and the triple tail will usually get right up next to it, sort of hide behind it on the down current side. And the crabbers run by the crab traps on a regular basis so that they're not scared of boats. We run past them at 25 miles an hour when you see them, double back around, cast to them with live shrimp, or they'll hit artificial as well.
Well, let's talk about those deep waterways, Wrigley's, Intercoastal Waterway, and also the Mr. Go. You know, one of the most memorable trips I've had, and I've been doing TV for over 20 years now, was that trip we made into the Intercoastal Waterway where we found the swamp water being pumped in, the whitewater fishing trip, dirty water, the last place anybody would stop and say, let me see if there's some speckled trout here, and I'll be doggone if we didn't find them. Those waterways have been very productive for you. We're probably pushing a little bit because it's more of a wintertime spot when it gets cold. Those fish stack up in there.
Right. Those fish like those deep waterways where the water is a consistent temperature and not a lot of current. When the water's cold, the fish get lethargic and they don't want to expend a lot of energy swimming against the current. So the Intercoastal Waterway and the Mr. Go, being deep, will offer the consistent temperature and not a lot of current. And what we found while those rapids was just some water movement with a lot of bait being flushed into the area. I caught some fish there earlier that week that you and I went. So I kind of knew they were there. It was just a matter of was the water running? And it was running while we were there, and we caught some fish.
Well, let's talk about Lake Pontchartrain. And this year has been a very down year for the bridges. People expect to go out there and catch big trout. We may see some of those World Series trout named after mid-October during the World Series to show up. You got a chance to speak with Captain Dudley the other night in front of people. What is the conjecture? What's the speculation on why the trout in Lake Pontchartrain have just not been there in very good numbers this year?
Well, there's many different theories on why we didn't see them. Some believe that there was a lot of fresh water in the area through the spring, and the brown shrimp are really not keen on the fresh water. The white shrimp don't seem to bother, the fresh water doesn't seem to bother them near as much. We are seeing a lot of white shrimp in the area, and obviously where you find the bait, you'll find the predators. So we're expecting to have a very good fall. It may be a lot of smaller fish, the 12 to 14-inch fish, because we did see a bunch of them in the spring. So those fish will be keepers by this time. I think we'll have a fine fall. Dudley was saying he thought the window of opportunity may not be 2 months like we're accustomed to, mid-October all the way into December. I think it's going to be fine as long as we don't have real cold water temperatures, which will shut those fish down.
Fishing those bridges requires a lot of technique, almost like bass fishing. You got to stay in touch with your bait. You got to feel the bottom. You got to sense the line moving or any little indication that you might have a fish hit. It's probably the toughest fishing there is for speckled trout. Anything different people should do in the fall as opposed to fishing there in the summertime?
I would say slow down. You know, when your water temperatures get cool, your fish get a little lethargic, they'll move slower, and so will the bait. So a slower presentation is probably going to be key. A lot of people fish too fast.
All right, thank you, Mike. You have just taken a tour of the entire Lake Pontchartrain Basin fishing area with Captain Mike Gallo. He's got a lot more to talk about, too. And we'll be back to take you out to Breton Sound. Fished in Hopedale last week with the Sanchez boys coming up on Paradise, Louisiana.
We are your friends.
We are your neighbors.
We are your brothers.
Your sisters.
Your sons.
We
are your family.
Because whether it's our team or our loyal customers, the Courtesy family extends far beyond our dealerships. And it's our continued commitment to putting people first that has made us the #1 selling domestic auto dealer in Acadiana. Who are we?
We
are Courtesy.
Introducing Powerade Ion 4, complete with 4 electrolytes lost in sweat. Powerade Ion 4, the complete sports drink.
can't believe y'all brought me out in the blind and we ain't got no food.
Don't worry, Gary. This will be over quick.
Man, I'm hungry.
Get out, Gary. Here they come. That dog loves to hunt.
I really like hunting, but you know what I really love?
I know, Gary. Food.
Now I can eat. Canes, the official chicken of Louisiana outdoors.
We build tires, but not tires like anybody else. We build Cooper tires for people, not just cars. People who are chauffeurs and shuttle pilots, heavy haulers and heavy hitters. More than what your Cooper tires can do, it's about what you can do with your Cooper tires. Life's a road trip. Come on, let's go.
When you're ready to really enjoy life at a slower pace, become a landowner. First South Farm Credit specializes in financing and refinancing land, but not just for farmers. They offer loans to purchase timberland, hunting and fishing, or recreational property. Their experience in land, timber, and loans set them apart from standard lending institutions. Contact a First South Farm Credit loan officer for more information. First South Farm Credit, a specialized rural land investment lender helping you realize your dream.
Welcome back to Paradise, Louisiana. Our guest co-host this week is Captain Mike Gallo of Angling Adventures of Louisiana. Mike, do you use the sliding cork much?
Yes, we do use a sliding cork, fishing the man-made reefs in Lake Pontchartrain.
And what do you use that for, and how do you rig it?
Well, a sliding cork is when you want to fish deep water, but still use a cork and suspend your bait or your presentation. The reefs in Lake Pontchartrain are about 3 feet off the bottom in 12 feet of water, so you can't fish the bottom, you'll snag the reef. So you want to have your live shrimp suspended right above the reef. And H&X makes a great cork that will suspend your lure or your live shrimp 9 feet or any depth you desire from the bottom. So it's a very simple rig to rig up. Looks just like the regular oval corks that I'm sure everyone's familiar with, but you can set the depth of that particular cork.
And it's a very effective method to use. And the funny thing about it is sometimes people will come up on us when we're using a sliding cork, and it appears you're only fishing 2.5 to 18 inches down because that's what they see. But once it goes down, the line is actually going through your cork stem, so you could be fishing as deep as 8, 10, even 20 feet deep, suspending it over that structure.
That's correct. You have a stopper that's on your line, and it can be reeled through the rod and down into the reel. And after you cast, there's a small weight right above your hook that'll pull it down, and it'll continue on down through the cork until the stopper hits the cork and suspends the bait right above the structure you're fishing.
Well, that's exactly the method we used this past week. We were fishing in the Breton Sound, Black Bay area with Captain Jonathan Sanchez, his dad Glenn Sanchez, and we brought along WWL Television out of New Orleans morning anchor Mike Hoss. And basically the problem we would have had we not used sliding corks was there was structure. We were fishing structure on the bottom, and believe me, Black Bay and Breton Sound is full of all that kind of trash. Jonathan even kidding around, I asked him, well, how do you locate it? He says, usually with his lower unit. And I don't recommend that. There's a method to find that a GPS works much, much better, or a sonar detector. But anyway, once you find that structure, there's very likely that bait fish will be congregating around it, and then that will bring in the predator fish. It allows you to suspend that bait over the structure without getting tangled in it and into that very, very precious strike zone. Not only did we catch some of the best speckled trout that I've had to catch this year, we also tied into some nice big bull redfish. Even had a long fight Mike Hoss did. He was introduced to a guy named Jack Gravel. Fought that fish. All in all, it was a good time. And we talked to Captain Jonathan now that we're into the fall season officially about that annual speckled trout migration inward and what he thought, when he thought that might take place in his area of Hopedale. Here he is, Captain Jonathan Sanchez, out in Breton Sound fishing speckled trout and reds. I don't know if he wants to go that way, Tom.
Okay, go that way then.
All right, speckled trout on the outside, or the trout side.
It's kind of been inconsistent, but everywhere else, but we've fairly had it consistent here. You know, it hasn't been the easiest of a year, don't get me wrong. Some days you just got to work harder, but we've been doing pretty good. So we'll see. They definitely starting to show up in the marsh more and more. Days when it's windier, when we have been fishing in the marsh, they've definitely got redfish in the marsh, and we've been able to pick up more and more straggler trout here and there. You know, no real ganged up trout, no schools of them, but they're starting to show up. No. Yeah, that's can't hold up.
There we go. He's in. Pretty trout.
Jesus Christ. I don't even know how to follow that damn poor fish.
All that line. Yeah.
We gotta maneuver, slide with the don't even.
We're using a secret bait today. Don't tell anybody, but this little guy right here. Actually, we're not using him for bait. He's telling us where the fish are.
They got more structure out here than you could fish in a lifetime. You know, it's just, they got stuff everywhere. And any structure you see any given day can hold some fish, you know. Just try and pay attention, be visual. You'll see a lot of times if it's right under the water, you'll see kind of the water rippling up over it on tide days or wind, kind of blowing waves over the top of it, you know. That'll help you realize that there's something under there. Or a lot of times I'll even just take my cage and anchor. If I pull up to a set of rigs or thinking there's a reef down there, I'll just drag my cage and anchor. And if there's shells down there, you'll hear it tink, 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 bouncing. If it's just mud, it's just going to drag.
Doesn't feel like a trout.
Don't feel like a trout, ain't looking like a trout.
Nope. Going straight down, huh?
Yep. These are for you. Oh, it's a big trout. Trout of the day.
Trout of the day, that's what I wanted to hear.
It was fun, man. I had good teachers. Good teachers, that's always better than anything else. Been a while since I've been fishing, so it's been great. Been looking forward to coming out here. Mackie Shilstone said, I need to eat more fish, so I called you.
How much line you got there? You all right? Yeah, you got.
Don, go shoot a trout. I got him. Go fish, Don. I'll let you know when we're close.
Keep reeling. Keep reeling. He's giving up.
Shoot him from far away because I don't understand what the camera's doing.
There you go.
Wait till he sees that net. He's good for another 100 yards.
Over 10,000 miles, you think? Oh, he's gone now.
Yeah. A good friend of mine named DD handed me a pole and said, here, you reel this in. 20 minutes later, sweat pouring off me.
Oh, what you got, Mike?
An acrobat.
Pick him up. I think he was trying to make me reach too far and fall over. He was getting even for me for that jack.
We call it beginner's luck. But I know you're not a beginner, but I guess it happens every once in a while. He hasn't been in a while, so we'll call it beginner's luck.
Big old stupid redfish.
No, is it?
No, big trout. Big trout, too.
Come on.
Come over here when you get him.
Yeah.
Right.
He figured it out. He's hooked.
frogs. You got any green tree frogs?
Oh, he wants that prop. Come here, damn it. Whoa, that's good. Break him off and get so he don't come back to the school.
Make it a little tougher on him.
Tease him or something?
This early. All right, another nice trout. According to what we caught today, it looks like the mystery of the speckled trout for the summer of 2014 might be over. Let's hope it is this fall.
As members of a Touchstone Energy cooperative, we've all got a job to do. And the more we work together, the more we save. That's the power of your co-op membership.
Demco, your Touchstone Energy cooperative.
Hi, I'm John Jackson, and you know we always say we gather our groceries out the bayou. Whether it's freshwater, saltwater, catfish, redfish, you have tons of choices when it comes to fish in Louisiana. But when I fry fish, there's only one choice, and that's Louisiana fish fry. My new favorite, the Cajun fish fry, has the perfect amount of cornmeal, corn flour, and the perfect mix of spices that really bring the heat. Hey, if you're craving Cajun, go look for the bright red bag at your local grocers. Bring home the taste of Louisiana with Louisiana Fish Fry.
Come to the family-owned and operated Cassius Casino in Port Allen today, where the Vegas-style video poker machines are ready for your entertainment. Cassius Casino is the finest, cleanest, classiest casino around. And Cassius 50 Style Diner is now serving seafood daily, along with your favorite home-cooked specials 24/7. Hey, Cassius is fun. Cassius is exciting. So come to the unsinkable Cassius Casino in Port Allen. Over the river 2 miles west of exit 151.
Fishing. It's where good stories come from. It's about good times and family and friends. It's about taking a couple home for dinner tonight and saving a few for tomorrow. It's all about that and so much more. To CCA, fishing is about enjoying today and making sure tomorrow is even better. To us, fishing comes with a responsibility for the resources we enjoy so much. If fishing means all that to you, then you belong with CCA.
Who doesn't want to save money on fuel? Now, Shell and the Fuel Rewards Network are putting you in control of how much you pay for fuel. Simply buy whatever's on your shopping list. Clothes, groceries, even dinner out. And earn cents per gallon savings at participating retailers nationwide. Now, fuel prices are in your hands. So why wait? Sign up at fuelrewards.com today and turn shopping power into saving power.
Welcome back to Paradise, Louisiana. And Gary, you got some updated information on the silver or Asian carp that we had gone a couple years ago now.
That's a dangerous carp. I was in the Red River. We were going out there to catfish, and we were going out to catch alligators. And everywhere we went, they were jumping. In fact, one of them jumped and hit the young lady in the head and in the eye, one of the ladies from Canada. But she was tough as they been, them ladies from Canada. They true outdoor women, let me tell you what. They've been and everything. But we talked to commercial fishermen when they came by, and they were catching catfish and picking their nets up. And one of them came on side of us, and I took some pictures, and he showed me all the catching. It was a lot of Asian carp in there. I said, well, what are you getting for the Asian carp? Why are y'all keeping them? They said, well, we're getting 10 cents a pound for them, but it's limited to what we do. If you remember when we did a segment with Chef Paola and them, and they were talking about, Louisiana was talking about wildlife fishers, about helping to get rid of them, and this is a good way they were selling, but nobody jumped on the process, and they moved up to Illinois or Indiana. Well, now they're getting rid of them because they're not paying the fishermen enough. Now, they're starting to re-look at this deal here in Louisiana right now, the processing plant. So that's not really part of the story, but it was something very interesting that I know
Well, bottom line is you may have some silver Asian carp on a plate nearby you pretty soon. And that's not bad news.
Beautiful
you tasted
meat.
it.
You've
It's
seen it.
delicious. Yeah.
Well, like you said, they showed them when they cooked them in balls. They showed them when they fried, how easy it was to separate the bones from the fish, and the meat is white. The reason I know how pretty the meat is because the young lady Coleman that came from Canada, she's a fishing guide. And she cleans fish for a living besides being an environmental scientist for the oil companies in Canada. And when she told me in one stretch, their season only lasts but a week or so because they reached their limit on walleye and lingcod, have I said it right? Well, she cleaning those fish and cutting up for bait. You could tell she knew how to handle a knife. And she said they clean 15,000 pounds a week. And they start cleaning from 3 o'clock in the morning, and they'll clean fish to 8 o'clock at night.
Wow.
And then they get back up and other people start.
Hopefully they'll get the story right because it's a win-win. We take care of an invasive species, and we also produce an industry and provide people with some good tasting fish. So we got to make that happen.
Well,
Tell me about the catfish.
The catfish is, we always wanting to do it. I've been wanting to do a story. I'm going to do one and put it on not too long in Lake Barrett with Pima. And now I'm going to tell you what, these guys got it done. And there was a lot of people, not commercial fishermen fishing, but they're fishing with noodles. You know, the long pieces of styrofoam, different colors. It looks like somebody put some Skittles out all over the water, but they were catching their fish, catching small catfish, catching from any perfect fillet size to 20 pounds, and they were doing it. And then what really excited me was Joe Dufour talking about snagging. I'm talking about 8-foot rods, offshore rods, big pin reels, and the way he rigged up a hook, and he's snagging and going to these dams and being safe. You got to stay back so far, going to these dams and these water control structures and snagging these catfish and after them carp around there too. And even a big different gar, not alligator gar. I call him a spotted gar, but no, but it was a good in a 20-pound range. And they're catching that gar and more. And when you catch a gar or fish, they talk about the meat, but you can see the catfish.
You got some of this on video?
We got all this on video. We're going to go see it right now, especially look at this lady Coleman, how fast she was getting. She'd grab a rod, she'd grab anything. She was always ready. And besides that, I know I get in trouble, but very pretty young lady.
All right.
I'm not better.
Reginald Washington, better known as Poop, from Silsport, Louisiana.
I'm Donnie Turchin from Pierceland, Saskatchewan, and it's my second time here in Louisiana.
Okay.
bunch of noodles right here, Joe. Tell me what's your name, where y'all from?
Jacob Gauthier, Cottonport.
Shane Hugans, Cottonport.
Sylvia Mobley, Shreveport. What y'all doing? Y'all filming something?
Y'all been having any luck?
Yeah. Got a few. Got a few.
Hey, get it.
Let me know something now.
Yeah, too bad with that gap, boy.
Hey. Gallo?
No.
Got some gabbing with that gab.
Throw him in the boat.
Hold up.
Throw him in the boat. Do that. Not hard headed.
Just like that.
I can't get that on TV. Act like y'all didn't know what the hell y'all doing.
Put it back in the water. Put it back in.
Bring him in the boat. He looked good.
Ready?
Both of y'all in the picture. You back up a little bit to something. Let me see his face. Hey. There you go. Well, that was great.
Right.
For all field environmentalists, you think you could do this for a living?
Oh yeah, I'll quit my job tomorrow.
You could?
Yeah.
That's my girl.
Mr. Joey, how come you knocked the scales off in your basement?
Who got it out? No, it come out. It was a gas, right?
Is it full clean through?
Yeah.
No bait.
2 square nuts. You put a couple half hitches on the bottom of the hook, like this. There's a couple of them just to hold it down. Perfect, 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 perfect. It's not that big. God, no, that's when you hit them, you hit it right where you hit them on.
That's a good fillet, though. Bring him to your left. First cast, Lane.
First cast.
You the man, you the
I'm
man.
doer.
Feel good.
Yeah. Let the boat coast back.
No,
Let it, Joey. Like, can you imagine when you hit a giant fish? It's not like catching a mouth. Bang.
So that anyway.
That's right.
You know, if it's buck for you, with yours. Keep him coming. Keep him coming, baby. Good job.
The catfish or Asian corn?
Can't see it.
Asian corn.
Run, run.
That's okay.
I can't see him. Get away.
Big foot. Put him in here, Pooh. ¿Estás viendo Paradise, Luciano? I think there's not enough oxygen down low in the water, and there's plenty of oxygen up top, but when the fish hooks himself and the line's on the bottom, sometimes then it'll kill the fish.
Why is it here, nowhere else?
Because
of the dam?
No, it's other places too. It's other places too.
You hear that, huh?
Yeah, we hear that. It's not gonna rain on us, though. I promise you. I promise you. Not gonna rain on us.
Go ahead.
Got one, Donnie?
Hey, watch out.
If he's a giant, we gotta turn the boat loose and follow him down the river. That's a gall. That's a good fish. Oh! Now this thing here bites you now. That's a gall now. I'm gonna eat him before we get home.
Oh, I never did no fishing like this before, but looked on an Asian carp there and it's fighting really good.
Mr. Gary, I think you're right. That's a bad little cloud. We could get rained on. We're gonna get out of here as soon as possible.
Well, I told him it's gonna rain. Did they say you're gonna believe me from now?
Yeah. He said he'll take your word from here on out.
Be the weatherman.
When you're ready to really enjoy life at a slower pace, become a landowner. First South Farm Credit specializes in financing and refinancing land, but not just for farmers. They offer loans to purchase timberland, hunting and fishing, or recreational property. Their experience in land, timber, and loans set them apart from standard lending institutions. Contact a First South Farm Credit loan officer for more information. First South Farm Credit, a specialized rural land investment lender helping you realize your dream.
The Louisiana Wildlife Federation is the oldest nonprofit conservation group in Louisiana. Formed by sportsmen in 1940 to protect your right to access and enjoy healthy fisheries and wildlife habitats statewide, LWF represents the voice of Louisiana's outdoors, both in the field and at the Capitol. LWF also supports the Vanishing Paradise campaign that advocates for critical restoration in the Delta and on the coast. Speak up for our state. Become an LWF member today.
Benny's Car Wash and Oil Change has been keeping cars and trucks in Baton Rouge clean and running smooth for over 50 years. At Benny's, we feature professional car washing, complete detailing, high-tech waxing and buffing, interior cleaning, and tire shine. Benny's, one stop for car maintenance with complete oil and lube services and even state inspections at our express locations. Visit one of our 5 convenient locations, including our newest store on Greenwell Springs Road. And don't forget to stop by Be Quick Convenience Store and Fuel Stop. Benny's Car Wash and Oil Change. Drive in dirty, drive out clean.
We are your friends.
We are your neighbors.
We are your brothers.
Your sisters.
Your sons.
We
are your family.
Because whether it's our team or our loyal customers, the Courtesy family extends far beyond our dealerships. And it's our continued commitment to putting people first that has made us the #1 selling domestic auto dealer in Acadiana. Who are we?
We
are Courtesy.
Welcome to the news segment of Paradise, Louisiana. Mike Gallo, our co-host, is with us. Mike, what are you doing for National Hunting and Fishing Day?
Fishing.
Fishing, good man. All right. Well, there's lots of things to choose from. Teal season will still be open. We've got archery season open in portions of Louisiana. The dove season will be open in certain areas too. So there's no shortage to get out there and enjoy it. But there are some really nice events going on statewide, sponsored by Louisiana Department of Wildlife and Fisheries. The personnel from Wildlife and Fisheries give of their time. They go out there, they do demonstrations, exhibits of fishing of all types, hunting, actually do some hands-on archery and BB gun shooting, black powder demonstrations. There's even some wild game taste testing going on. The location, main one, Baton Rouge at Waddill. There's going to be a family fishing festival there this year. But we also have locations in Monroe, which will be at the public shooting range, Minden at Bodcall Wildlife Management Area, and at Woodworth's Outdoor Education Center. There'll be similar events going on. So bring the kids. It's really geared to a family event. There's no admission charge. And if it has to deal with outdoors in Louisiana, you'll find some aspect of it there that I'm sure will intrigue you and the kids. Also, Hunters for the Hungry. They'll be doing their Clean Out Your Freezer Day Sunday in a greater Baton Rouge 6 parish area. Check out brfoodbank.org for a location there. Clean out your freezer. If you've got some game that you're willing to donate or fish, they'll accept it at those locations. The times and locations are listed on that website. Also, those of you who like to fish in the Falls River area, be aware that the drawdown has started. There could be some inaccessible areas because a boat launch is being left high and dry. You might want to keep that in mind if you're planning on going on Falls River. Teal hunting. Still getting some mixed reports. It's better in the southwest where the big, large majority of the blue-winged teal were located. Southeast Louisiana, I had an opportunity to make one trip this week. We should have limited out, but you know how that goes. You can't hit them all. We ended up with 9 birds. Carl Byer and myself and his dog Danny had a very enjoyable trip. The weather's really been nice for teal hunting, with the exception of some high water in southeast Louisiana. Those areas have pretty much been devoid. Cajun Fishing Adventures in Buras is reporting daily limits, lots of birds there, so some good things ahead coming for the big duck season on that front. I also want to congratulate the winners of the Junior Southwest Bass Masters Tournament. Braden Blanchard won the 15 to 18-year-old with first place. First place in the 11 to 14-year-old was Hansard Cheney. And congratulations to Wyatt Campbell. He took first place in the 7 to 10-year-olds. That's the Junior Southwest Bass Masters. When we come back, Captain Mike Gallo and Gary Krause will join us for the Berkeley Abu Garcia Fishing Report, coming up next on Paradise, Louisiana.
We build tires, but not tires like anybody else. We build Cooper tires for people, not just cars. People who are chauffeurs and shuttle pilots, heavy haulers and heavy hitters. More than what your Cooper tires can do, it's about what you can do with your Cooper tires. Life's a road trip. Come on, let's go.
Ask me about my Tempur-Pedic.
Ask me how fast I fall asleep.
Why not talk to someone who's sleeping on the most highly recommended bed in America?
Ask me about staying asleep.
Tempur-Pedic owners are more satisfied than owners of any traditional mattress brand.
Ask me how it feels after 10 years.
Tempur-Pedic, the most highly recommended bed in America.
Ask about Tempur-Pedic at Olin's, where you know you always get the guaranteed low price. Olin's is the only store in Baton Rouge and Lafayette with the full line of Tempur-Pedics.
For the thirsty, for those who hang out in packs, for heroes, for sidekicks, for those who see the glass half empty, for those who see it half full, for those on the right, for those on the left, for those with nicknames, for those with curves, for people that cycle, for people that recycle, for BFFs, for frenemies, for those with style, for lovers, for families, for big families, for everyone.
Louisiana Farm Bureau Insurance doesn't hire celebrities to push auto coverage. We think people might like to make decisions based on service and savings, not just because that guy from that show says it's a good idea. Instead of faces you know from your TV, we offer faces you know from your neighborhood. Because we're based in Louisiana, with local agents right in your town. That's really the only thing we want to be famous for. Louisiana Farm Bureau Insurance. Real service, real people.
I'm on my 3rd Tahoe.
And I'm on my 4th Chevy Silverado pickup.
Hey, you know I've had 4 Camaros and 5 Corvettes. Got them all from Jerry Lane.
We're proud to be a Jerry Lane family.
All lanes lead to, you can count on Jerry Lane.
Come to the family-owned and operated Cassius Casino in Port Allen today, where the Vegas-style video poker machines are ready for your entertainment. Cassius Casino is the finest, cleanest, classiest casino around. And Cassius 50-style diner is now serving seafood daily, along with your favorite home-cooked specials 24/7. Hey, Cassius is fun. Cassius is exciting. So come to the unsinkable Cassius Casino in Port Allen. Over the river 2 miles west of exit 151.
Welcome to the Berkeley Abu Garcia Fishing Report. Gary Krause joins myself and our guest co-host Mike Gallo of Angling Adventures of Louisiana. Mike, I wonder, before we get talking about the report, I want to show a little product here I found up in Alaska where I was fishing, actually. And I noticed you've been taking a look at it and kind of interested in it. We're going to be equipping our field staff with it and getting some feedback on it. But we used it this past week, and I can see several applications for this, making it easier to net your fish.
Right. I can see where you put your net in, fasten it. It's going to be real easy to grab with one hand and net fish while you may be holding a rod with the other. So I can see a lot of applications for kayakers, wade fishermen, maybe even freshwater.
I see that working really good. The bigger net you use, because you get all that weight out in front of you, move that leverage point back to your forearm, like for redfish.
And particularly for maybe the ladies and some of the older folks that have a little problem with the lifting, this is going to be a big help. It's called the Robo Handle, and you can find these on my website at dontheoutdoorsguy.com. $19.95 plus shipping, and it's yours. All right, let's talk some fishing. Gary, freshwater action. Is this the doldrums, the dog days of summer are kind of starting to fade into the early days of fall? What are we looking at?
Between transition time, just like trout, you're getting the same thing up at Toledo Bend. I don't think you would need that at Toledo Bend right now. The report hadn't been that good. There are some schooling fish, up 3 to 5 pound fish, and they're chasing small bass and shad. But the shad are starting to move. We're just starting to get that little bit of cool down. They really aren't biting up in the creeks unless you catch a few on a point. Some transition area, they're starting to move off the humps out in the lake. So it's just going to be a few weeks till they start showing up more in the creek channels where they're following the shad. Now, spillway, the Chapel Eye, Joe Macaluso and I went out. We've got a video on the advocate.com on the outdoors. We did catch some bass. We had more fun catching some nice sac-a-lait that we found late in the afternoon. But even with all the thunderstorm activity we had last week that brought the water up a little bit, we've got a big surge coming down the Mississippi from all the heavy rains from the Midwest part of the country. It's white chocolate, milky water pushing up from the river and intercoastal, working its way into the center of the spillway. So the best thing is start looking for the cleanest water you can find. It should push the fish shallower around the grass in the dead-end canals to where you can start catching them shallower.
Any baits you'd suggest?
Black and chartreuse tube jig if you want to catch a sac-a-lait. We did not catch a bass on a spinnerbait, but we caught bass on topwater, and we caught bass on a chatterbait. The water getting a little bit dirtier. It seemed like the more vibration from a chatterbait was what was catching the bass.
All right, Mike, we're actually officially into the fall season, but don't let that fool you. We've still got 90-degree temperatures. Any changes now? What are we going to expect over the next several weeks in those areas where you fish, and what's the fishing been like this week?
It's been very similar to as Gary was talking about in the freshwater. A lot of fish in a lot of different areas. Mostly the trout are scattered. Redfish are confined into the marsh. Now, we have been catching a lot of bull reds, and I could see an application for those bigger redfish right here. That would certainly make it a little easier on a lot of those bigger bulls that are in the area. And they're in spawning. They'll be in all the way until Thanksgiving or December. As far as the trout, it's going to be a steady migration. They'll just get better and better as time goes. It'll really kick off when we see a nice cold front. We get a cold front to come through. I would say the best lure or application to try to find those trout will be a popping cork. You can cover a lot of water and sort of call the fish to you. You always want to find clean, moving water with bait fish activity nearby.
Well, we talked about those World Series trout. We're not far from the World Series in the playoff games. That means there could be some speckled trout, hopefully showing up at the bridges. You don't want to go out there with a popping cork. How do you fish those bridges for those purists that want to go after those historical World Series specks?
Right, we fish the bridges very similar to how you fish a pig and jig bass fishing. We use a 3/8 or a 1/2 ounce jig head. The Dudley's a very popular lure, and you want to throw it right at the base of the bridge and work your lure with the current towards you. The key to it is maintaining contact with your lure as your lure is falling. So you're going to hop the lure up a couple of times, gather your slack, make sure your rod is in hook setting position, and I instruct my clients, if anything changes, set the hook. You could feel a tap, it gets lighter, it gets heavier, it just goes away. Set the hook. Jerks are free.
There you go. Some other areas, Breton Sound, where you saw a report from this week, there's been some good speckled trout fishing on the outside that will even improve more as you get closer to the inside as we head toward that fall season. Fishing around Grand Isle, it's kind of been hit or miss on the speckled trout. Lots of reds from everything from rats on up to the big bulls, cruising on both sides of the island there. Grand Isle actually kind of slacks off as far as the number of boats this time of the year. In fact, it turns into a ghost town when you get in the winter months, but the fishing continues to be good. That in Venice, a couple of the good launching spots if you want to get out and take advantage of some of that late September, early October tuna fishing. There's good reports of yellowfin, blackfin tuna out there. Mangrove snappers are still plentiful out there also. A fish that shows up this time of the year, the Jack Crevalle, you saw some action on that. A lot of people do not eat those fish for very obvious reasons. It's a very dark, bloody meat. I have got a recipe from Chef Brian Landry. He and John Besh have Bourne Restaurant in New Orleans. It's a dish they serve there called Jack Crevalle Gravlax. Check it out on my website. You may not be throwing those Jack Crevalle back anymore. In fact, you may be targeting them once you try that recipe. It's available at dontheoutdoorsguy.com. Gary, thanks for your contribution on the fishing report. Yeah, let's give him a tip before we wrap up.
Put a jacket in the boat. Can you say 60 degrees?
Ooh,
this
I'd love
whole
to hear
week,
it.
the morning's in the 60s. Bring a jacket.
For that cool, damp ride. Mike, thanks for coming by and co-host. Can't wait to get you back here again.
It's a pleasure. Look forward to coming back.
All right. Gary Rasponi will be back with us again next week for another edition of Paradise, Louisiana.
Paradise, Louisiana, with Gary Rasponi and Don Dubuc. Paradise, Louisiana would also like to thank these sponsors.
Baton Rouge Coca-Cola Bottling Company, Benny's Car Wash and Oil Change, Cracker Barrel Convenience Stores. We have more than you expect. Always fresh, never frozen, Raising Cane. Blue Cross Blue Shield of Louisiana, Farm Bureau Insurance, Louisiana Fish Fry Products, Demco, First South Farm Credit, Area Wholesale Tire Company, and tire programs for tire dealers.